You guys ready?
Yeah!
Scarefest, we'd love to welcome to the stage Don Coscarelli, Bill Thornbury, Kathy Lesser, A. Michael Baldwin, Reggie Bannister, and G.G. Fastel. Did I say that correctly? Yeah. Come on up.
Hey, good to see you.
That's what we were trying to work on, right? So we have a little surprise for you. I'm sorry. Mr. Baldwin, come right on up and have a seat. We do have enough chairs for everybody, right? I got a master's degree, but it's not mathematics. All right, sweet. So, Don, do you want to talk about the surprise you have for everyone? Real quick.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me out there?
Yeah!
Hey, thanks for coming out today. You know, I was walking up here and the phone just rang, and it says Angus Scrimm. Anybody have a question for Angus? Angus, you want to say hello? Let's see if we can get this to work. Yes, go ahead. I think they can. Can you hear him out there?
Oh, yeah.
Hold on one second, Rory. Angus.
That was my fault.
They're technical malfunction. All right. You're ready for your, say hello to everybody, Angus.
Reggie and Gigi and Bannister and Thornbury, all the odds and figure out. And I ain't. Anyhow, God bless. And thanks for thinking of me.
Angus, hang on for a second. Let's turn it over to the moderator, and maybe he'll throw a question down your way soon, and you'll hopefully be able to hear.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Instead of me asking a question, who has a question while Angus is on the phone they'd like to ask right now? Okay, we've got somebody right over here. Can we get a microphone to him, Jay? Thank you so much.
I think there's a question for you.
I actually just wanted to wish him well and hope he has a speedy recovery. That's not so much a question, but wish you the best.
Good wishes.
Any other questions? Anyone for Angus? Well, I'll ask a question. Would you like to talk about Ravenger for a second? I'm sure everyone in here would like to hear about it.
Angus, they want to know what you have to say about Phantasm Ravenger. And remember, don't say anything.
I'm told I mustn't talk about Ravenger. There's a plot to keep it a mystery until it comes out.
Angus, I think that's all the questions we have for you. Anybody on the panel have a question for Angus?
Yeah, anybody on the panel?
Nope, we just love you.
Oh, Angus, maybe this crowd would like to hear some of your dialogue from the first Phantasm.
Yeah.
Have you heard any of that dialogue?
Boy.
What were those lines?
I want to hear him say, boy.
Ladies and gentlemen, Angus Scrimm. Would you like to listen to the rest of the afternoon, or would you want to say goodbye now, Angus? I think we lost him. Are you still there? Do you want to listen in on the rest of the conversation with us, or would you like to say goodbye? Awesome, so Angus will stay with us. All right.
Well, let's go ahead and get started. Basically, for the question I just asked, you guys have been away from your roles for a while. So what was it like stepping back into those after a little while? For Ravager.
Me?
Anyway, yeah, let's absolutely. I'll hand this microphone.
Yeah, well, the whole thing about the Reggie character is he's kind of a play on me, which is fun. He's kind of over the top, and you got to remember when we started this thing, the first Phantasm was it was like the 70s. And, everybody was still playing a lot of music, a lot of musicians around, a lot of places to play music. It was a lot of fun. People would pick up guitars and just start jamming wherever they were. And you get that feeling from Reggie and Jody and, just a kind of a free, vibe. And I think that, as we've gone along through the years, the characters have grown, but still have that same vibe, that kind of freedom vibe. So I think that's what people dig about the characters. What do you think, Bill?
It was really easy to step right back into the CUDA. The CUDA. I mean, what else needs to be said as far as Jody's concerned, It was more tricked out than it's ever been. And it was just so fun to step back into that and to be there for the boys and deal with some of the zombies that were standing in the way. And, but I won't say anymore, but anyway, let me just say this if I don't get a chance. You guys are the best fans in the world, and I thank you so much. We all thank you for your faithfulness to us and to the series, and it means so much because if it wasn't for you, it wouldn't be worth as much of anything. It wouldn't be as much fun if it wasn't for you, and thank you. Thanks for stepping up to the table.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I second that. And also, I thought it was really easy to step back into the lady in lavender. I think I have an extra charge in this Ravager movie. I think you'll be surprised. I think that's all I should say. But it's a lot of fun. I love playing evil, because I'm the opposite. I mean, I can be naughty, but I'm not. But I can be evil in this film. But, what did he say?
What did you say, Angus?
I
this.
Anyway, it's been a lot of fun, and I think you'll all be surprised, very much surprised by all of us.
Hey, thanks a lot for all the interest in Ravager. It's wonderful that we didn't have any clue that folks were so avidly waiting for the new movie and eagerly. And thank you for your patience. You know, the original movie, we probably spent 4 full years making that film until we finally got it in the theaters. And I want to let you know that we're taking the same level of care as we did with the original to get everything right. Although we don't have a release date set, I can tell you it's upcoming very soon, and along with some other things that I'm not at liberty to talk about, but some exciting news in the Phantasm world, which I haven't yet shared with my collaborators up here even.
No, you haven't.
So don't ask me about it anymore at this convention.
I think
but coming up
Scarefest
soon
would be
we'll
a
have
great place.
some good news in the Phantasm world.
I think Scarefest would be a great place to make an exclusive out of it.
That's right.
So, back to that question. Stepping into my role. I was in a new role on Phantasm, which was really wonderful, actually, because I was not directing the film. And, you know, look, the directors always take all the credit for making the film, and they get all the accolades, but it is a damn hard job, because every morning you gotta be there, you have to figure out what is gonna be, what's the tall man wearing today? Well, that's an easy question, we know that, but, you know, all these wardrobe questions and prop questions. And for Ravager, we brought along a new collaborator. His name's David Hartman, and he has an amazingly eclectic resume that could only work for Phantasm, because here the guy is one of the Emmy-nominated animation director of animation. On such great shows as the new Transformers Prime. He even he worked on the Starship Troopers Roughnecks Chronicle, which is a favorite of mine. Also, he even did a new iteration of Winnie the Pooh. So this guy does everything. And in addition to some of the most cutting-edge animated Rob Zombie music videos. He's done a lot of illustrations for Rob Zombie. David is an artist and has brought a level to Phantasm that's really unique and a new tone to it. But for me, it was so fantastic to just basically show up on the set and cheerlead everybody, and to watch these actors work without having to be prepared to give them any guidance. And it was funny because I think it was a strange experience for the actors, because frequently I would see them and they would come over, well, Don, what do I do in this scene? And I go, well, you need to talk to Dave because he's directing. And so for me, it was wonderful in that way, and to really watch these scenes unfold and watch the world unfold, and to watch the characters really, some of them come to, you know, some fruition that we've all been waiting for 4 episodes now, and we're going to pay off some of this stuff in a great way and keeping it consistent. So from my perspective, it was just a joy every day of working on it. And Michael had a lot of challenges, and I'll let him fill you in on his.
I did. Challenges were those. What was the question?
What was it like stepping back into that role after being out of it for so
Can I have a different question, please? Just ask me a different one.
Sure.
I'm gonna just veer off, you know? I'm just gonna-
Absolutely. Why don't we go to our audience? Who has a question?
I guess that's it.
Okay.
We have one in the
I see it.
one in the back. Yeah.
Just yell your question. I can hear you. Go on.
What's going on with the distribution of the entire series? Is it all under one house now, where we can easily get it again, or what's going on?
Let me just pass the microphone on to Don. Here you go.
We're going to have some very exciting announcements coming up soon. Thank you for your patience.
Wait a minute. I don't get this thing myself.
Another question for Michael. Come on.
Dankeschön. Yes, sir. Right there. Yes, sir. And you in the cowboy hat.
Huge fan of the series, really changed my entire perception of horror. So I got to say, you started very young with this series, obviously.
Indeed.
Was there a lot of apprehension, nerves racing, or were you just stoked to be a kid on the set doing your thing? I know the original cut of the film was huge, so you probably had a lot of acting to, kind of shoulder as a young guy.
It was a blast from the beginning to the end. It was super fun every day. So it never feels like work. It never feels like, the pressure that you feel as an adult to perform or to be successful or to not get fired or to, you know what I mean? None of that. Just for me, not for these guys. For me, just one hilarious, fun time. Just a blast. I mean, that's just it. Super fun.
Oh, I would have fired you. He was a torment.
It's true that a 13-year-old realizes if you're smart pretty quickly that, oh, this entire movie hinges on me and I can say and do whatever I want. You can no longer be fired. It doesn't take very long and you're in and that's it. So like it.
I became a teacher because of this guy. I thought I could get out of this. But I started teaching kids, right? So maybe it was my inspiration to become a teacher. I was working with this little guy over here. He was wonderful, though.
Do we have another question?
Question for Michael. So, how old were you when you were in the film? I didn't catch that. And did you actually get to drive the heavy CUDA?
I love this CUDA question a lot because I get to say this, and it's the truth. I learned how to drive in that damn car. I was taught how to drive by Don and by Bill. In different, there was like only one or two scenes where I actually was driving the car, but lots leading up to that. And so, okay, we got 3 weeks. We better teach this kid how to drive the car a little bit, right? So I get to say, and I think it's cool, that I learned how to drive in that car. And what was the second half of that question?
How old were you?
I think I turned 14 in the middle of shooting.
Nice. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
What other questions? Out here.
Another question I ask you. It seemed like you were being pushed toward it. Is that by the end of the Phantasm series, was you going to actually assume the mantle as the tall man?
An excellent question. There's one little shot in Oblivion, Reggie, where Reggie's having a dream sequencey kind of thing, or something, who knows what it is, and he's in an area, a wooded area, and then all of a sudden I'm there, dressed completely as the tall man. It's a really quick cut, but it's super cool. And we sort of always thought what was going to happen from that, and I guess I can't even really talk about it, can I? I was almost just like...
He's still a growing boy. We're waiting for him to put on another 6 inches. And
Thanks. Thanks for that. Where, she said.
I told you I was naughty.
But not evil.
Okay. We have a question up here. If you guys don't mind, so everybody else can hear, just use the microphone.
I'm sorry I didn't do that thing. He said, why weren't you in Phantasm 2?
I just kind of have a general question. I mean, in kind of the horror genre right now, you see a lot of people that are remaking classics. And I'm just kind of curious if there was ever like a reboot where they were coming to you and saying, we need to reboot this like they did, like Texas Chainsaw or like the Friday the 13th or any of the other movies that
I think this is a question for Don, but I have the mic, so I'm going to just say, I think a reboot is probably a bad idea. But of course, it probably will happen. Just as a person that enjoys watching movies, come on, of course eventually it will happen, but it is a bad idea. Don?
Well, I staved off the folks that want to do remakes for a long time, and long enough, in fact, to do what we see as, well, of course we thought about this for Phantasm 4, but what we see as a wonderful conclusion to the series in Phantasm Ravenger. So, it all depends on who would want to make something like this. I mean, there are some visionary filmmakers that you could hand this storyline over to, and it could be wonderful. And if you chose the wrong person, it could be terrible. So, only time will tell at this point. But thanks for the interest. Yeah, back in the back, we got another one.
I was wondering how Mr. Scrimm got involved in the series. What kind of casting call went out, and was it, hey, we're looking for, a tall guy that can play Spooky, or and how did that come about?
Okay, they wanted to know how you were cast in Phantasm. I guess I can put you up right now. If you can just tell them, here you go. How did you get cast?
I don't think it's just about Robert and Richie and I had done a picture together called Jim World's Cleaners, which Universal is shooting around the country. And so that all in the movie. And everyone saw me as the sinister actor. And cast me, was known for it. Long before I had any idea the idea in mind. So it came as a total surprise. I never contemplated playing a horror figure. And it all worked out. To everybody's astonishment, not too badly. I got cast. So long time ago, I could have forgotten completely.
Right here, Angus. Hang on a second. Oh, we have another question.
I'm not going to ask about spoilers or anything, but in Phantasm 4, there's a clip from the original Phantasm that wasn't in the final cut, where the tall man gets hung and they cut him down. So there's a lot of other clips in 4 that were from the original shoot. Have you always had a general idea of where you wanted the plot to go in all 4 movies, or did you kind of wing it on some points, or like?
It's funny because as we were making Phantasm 1, we honestly had no idea where it was going to go. In the middle of the film, for instance, this idea came around that the cat would actually, her character would be a shape-shifting manifestation of the tall man. But we had pretty much shot their entire sequences. And did you find out that?
I didn't know until I came to the screening, and I see my face superimposed over Angus, and I'm like, oh, what am I? And then I realized, okay, I'm the alter ego, I guess.
It was just an ever-evolving work, and we were, experimenting at all times. It was made in an unconventional way over a long period of time.
Well, I mean, it works
Yeah, we tried to shoot it traditionally, and I think we lasted about 9 days before we crashed and burned logistically. And then we started filming just on weekends. This is the original movie. And during the week, we were editing it and reconfiguring it and talking it among ourselves and deciding what was working and what wasn't. And at the end of the day, Phantasm came out. And, truthfully, at the time, for me, Phantasm was a singular, one-off work. It was like, end of the movie. Mike loses, tall man wins, game over, But then there was such an outcry from some fans out there that wanted more. And so for a number of years, probably a good 8 years, I didn't have a clue where to go with a sequel until one day, probably the most basic, simple idea popped in my head. Well, what happened 10 seconds later after Phantasm ended? And once I started thinking, like, what was going on upstairs after he went, and what was Reggie doing downstairs playing guitar, then was able to extrapolate and take it from there. And so that's how it evolved in a very kind of a loose, collaboratively bizarre way. But thanks for the question. Okay, maybe over on that side?
Yeah, hey, this might be a little bit of a long one. So I've been watching Phantasm for like 20 years now, and for like the last 12 years I've heard different things, you know, like Phantasm Forever and Phantasm's End in 1999. There's been little bits kind of, you know, mentioned here and there from different people. Is there any parts of those movies that somehow kind of influenced how you would go about developing Ravager? And kind of similar to that, how did you ultimately come to decide to make Ravager? Is it like what was the process itself?
It was just a function of a desire to continue the series and trying to figure out a way to do it. And, you know, all of those fits and starts that we did, I'm sure they influenced everything in how Ravager ultimately ended up. And, you know, in Ravager itself, at first we didn't exactly know that we were going to, what we were going to do. We just wanted to get together and get something going. I'm very, very happy with the result. I can't wait for you guys to see it all.
I have a question for everyone and then a question for Don, both kind of quick. The question for everyone is, I'd like to know what each of your favorite moments from the film, or, you know, if you had a favorite moment from the past films, or Ravager, which you probably can't talk about, what would that be? And then, Don, I was always curious, I rewatched the whole series leading up to the con, as I'm sure a lot of people in this room did, and there was the whole thing with Tall Man and Colt. There was like a moment in the first movie where he almost seems to take a moment to take it in, and then later on, he doesn't like it. And so I was trying to figure out why that might be the case, and I was like, well, it seems like he's from a very deserty dimension, so he probably just doesn't like cold, but then I'm not sure why he kind of looked like he enjoyed it in the first one, and so that's a question for you, and that's a question for everyone.
Well, I'll answer that one very quickly, which is that that was really Angus's acting. You know, I gave him some instructions, but he created something. Was that pleasure or was that pain? I don't even know. All I know it is pretty freaking weird. and it has stuck with people all these years. It was one of those magical moments in the making of the film where the actor transcended the concept and did something amazing there. Well, let me pass it down to Reg. Maybe you can start with your favorite scene.
Geez, a favorite scene? Yeah, that's kind of tough, really, because I don't know, making that shotgun, you know, was pretty cool. As you know, I'm figuring it out in that shop situation, and you know, I've got the tearing shotguns apart and putting it back together and stuff. And you know, the 4-barrel shotgun. Pretty much any time I got that in my hands, that's one of my favorite scenes. And I really love blowing it off because it really, all 4 of those barrels work. Wayne, who built the shotgun? Wayne Beecham?
Yeah, it was actually
Wayne Beecham.
one of his guys.
Yeah, and he came up with this idea. I mean, you think about that shotgun, where the hell did that come from? You know, seriously, 4 barrels, and guess what? 2 triggers, and you can shoot them off 2 barrels at a time, or you can pull both triggers at the same time, and all 4 of them go. I particularly like that, and and with those the loads that we had, it actually kind of flamed out of the front of the barrels. So, anytime I had that gun in my hand, that was one of my favorite scenes.
I have a lot of favorites. Scenes that I did with all 4 of the actors, you know, the lead actors, all of us. I think the one scene though that really hit me hard because it scared the crap out of me was the mausoleum, the early mausoleum scene where I said I'm going to go see somebody, and it's at the very beginning of the movie. Then I walked through the mausoleum, which was an amazingly crafted set, you know, in Chatsworth, California, in a warehouse, and it looked like the real deal, didn't it? Yeah. You know, and I was walking through there, and they would cut, and then you'd see this dwarf thing going, and you'd look over there, and then at one point, Jody kind of walks up to the corner, kind of lets out a sigh, and leans up against the wall, and then this honking hand comes over, hits me on the shoulder, which, I'm not kidding, it was like it really happened. And it scared the crap out of me. And the rest was just a real kind of reaction to something that was just kind of meant to be. And I jumped back, and I looked at him, he said, "The funeral's about to begin, sir." And I said, "Okay." Sir. And I proceeded on to the funeral. But that's probably the one that I love so many scenes, the scene of the cemetery. but the chunk and the bug and the thing. I mean, it was all wonderful. But that was the one that probably I had kind of a visceral response to. So thanks.
Well, so I have two, one from first Phantasm and one from 5. The first one was, well, the cemetery scene. I have to say that was easy to do. That was how many takes?
Not enough.
And then in 5, it's something that happens between Reggie and I. That's all I'll say.
Hey, Angus, are you still there? They're asking what's your favorite, if you have a favorite scene in the series you'd like to mention.
A favorite scene in the which?
In the Phantasm series of films.
The whole series. A favorite scene? My goodness, I think of all the outstanding moments you created in that film, Don. My favorite comedy moment is when the boys persuade Reggie to put the corpse of a bleeding dwarf in the back of his truck in the freezer portion. And as they close the lid, Reggie looks from the puberty and says, "That guy's under a week old ice cream, is he?" I love that moment. It's hilarious.
Great, thanks. I have a favorite scene. I have a lot of favorite scenes, but I have some for each of the actors. I think I could go down the list here. Start with Reggie. The moment in Phantasm 1 where he single-handedly defined what his character was going to be for the rest of the series, that he could be an action hero, when he said, "We're going to lay that sucker out flat and drive a stake right through his goddamn heart." I remember watching him shoot that, and the director's always the first audience, and I'm watching through the little camera lens and him going, "Shit, he's great," There's more to this guy, than just an ice cream guy, so that was a good moment. Bill, of course, it always comes back to, I'll butcher it here, sitting here at midnight. That was a really magical sequence between both Bill and Reggie. That song was so soulful in Bill's performance and the camaraderie between those two. Cap, there's this strange vulnerability. Reggie, I think one of my favorite moments, I'll just point out from part 1, was Reggie comes stumbling out of the mausoleum in the midst of the windstorm, and he cradles Kat in his arms, and she has this just soft, innocent look as she looks up at him that really was a big misdirect to the audience, played just perfectly. Michael, just so many freaking scenes with him, and one of them includes you, Angus, which is in the mausoleum. Well, first for us, after the whole ball scene, which was cool, and I always love that. But Michael flips around and he goes, when he sees the tall man down there, and then he shit under his breath. And then they have this moment where they have the standoff, and the way that each of those actors, just step by step, I wish I could take credit for all of this stuff, but these actors just brought their A game to it. And Angus, Obviously, every time he said boy, I love that. So here's Michael.
Thank you very much. My favorite scene, I think, in Phantasm, and I'm just going to go right back to original Phantasm, kind of like old Star Trek, new Star Trek, like the original Phantasm. And it's the moment where the movie is suddenly not a horror movie anymore. It's the moment where, like, it's no longer, it's something completely different. All of a sudden, Mike comes through this doorway, and this weird-ass sound effect, and now you're in, like, the space gate. And the film, right in that moment, is a different kind of movie than what you thought. It is totally going in a different direction. It was surprising to people at the time, and if you show it to somebody who's never seen it, it will be surprising to them right now. It is a beautiful transition, artfully done, not easy to accomplish. So here you go, the guy that did it right here.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part. Favorite moment. It's a horror movie? No, it's a science fiction film. I mean, how does it get any better than that? I don't know. Favorite scenes from all these guys? I don't know. What all these guys said. Yeah, definitely that. And Reggie's moment where he says, I'm gonna stomp the shit out of that guy, that whole thing, he's like, I know, I got it! I know what we're gonna do! It's memorable, for sure.
More questions?
So this is for Reggie and Don, basically. So Reggie, you were talking earlier about how the character's kind of based on you, kind of like a over-the-top version of you, I guess.
I'm sorry. Oh, yeah.
So, how did that come
Yeah,
about?
well, you know, I was, when we shot the first picture, I was you know, playing a lot of music, and pretty much like 4 or 5 nights a week in Long Beach, California. And because at that time we had some really great little clubs to play in. You know, like they were called coffee houses, and the good coffee houses was more than coffee; it was beer and wine as well. And there was a little place in Belmont Shore in California called the West Coast Bodega, and I was playing there. And it was really interesting because when we'd shoot like some weekends and stuff, Don would give me a call, and he'd go, well, you know, we're going to pick you up tonight after you finish your sets. And of course, I'd finish my sets at 2 o'clock in the morning. And so I can remember at least one time, and I'm sure there were more, when I would leave the coffee house at 2:30 in the morning, and Don would be there to, you know, send a car, and we'd go up and shoot up in like Big Bear up in the San Bernardino Mountains. And it was always that kind of spontaneous thing. You never knew what was going on exactly. You know, Don would give us the script or the stuff that we were going to shoot, like we would call sides, let's say, sometimes, and then we just extrapolate on that. Don was terrific. He would just go, "Here, man, you know, what do you want to do?" You know, and everybody was just so spontaneous and so creative. And I think that's really a big part of why you guys dig it, because it just felt like it was happening right now, right now.
Hi, this question is mostly for Reggie, but it might apply to any of you. I'm just curious if anybody from the set of Phantasm fired live rounds out of the quad-barreled shotgun.
No. And you know, if you can imagine shooting, what it was 12 gauge, right? It was 12 gauge shotgun barrels going down into a common breech. I mean, that still blows me away, the way that weapon was made. But if you can imagine real rounds coming out of that, if you've ever shot a double-barrel shotgun, I mean, those babies kick, you know. And so it was kind of up to me because, you know, the dummy rounds, they don't kick at all. So there's a bit of acting involved in shooting that 4-barrel shotgun. But it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Okay, next question. We haven't had somebody in the back.
Run.
Don't fall, Chad. Run, Doris.
All right, my question's for the bald middle-aged ex-ice cream vendor. My favorite line in any movie is "We're hot as love." Was that in the script or was that an ad-lib?
Yeah, hot as love. God, where did I just? I think it just popped out of my mouth. Hot as love. No, actually, you know what? I was playing in a group with a group. A guy named David Seacrest was the bass player, and I remember we were rehearsing one day. Me and the other guitar player named Bill Cohn, who was actually in one of the Phantasms. I got him in there, and but anyway, we were in the. We used to rehearse in Bill's. He had a little studio built alongside of his house, and we used to rehearse and record there. Bill Cohn, and we were rehearsing one day, and we played this song, and when we finished it. David's we stood there kind of stunned in silence because it sounded so damn good, you know, and David just after a beat or two, after we stopped the song, he looked at us and he went, "We're hot as love." And that's where I got it.
Next question. What we got? Okay.
Once again, I don't have a question for Angus, but I just wanted to make a statement. Angus, you are much loved by your fans, as you all are by your fans. And my second is an observation. What is Reggie's age secret? He looks today almost like he did back in the first film. How do you manage to do that? And what? Because everyone would like to know your secret, I think.
Gigi, please, we haven't heard from you. Absolutely. How are you? Yeah.
Me. I don't give trade secrets away. I do special effects, and I do makeup, and he doesn't go where I don't go.
Yeah.
On top of which, I have a painting in an attic. Yeah, so that's that. You know, that's it. What can I say after that?
Yeah, Kathy and I have a question for Don. Actually, my dad took me to see Phantasm when I was 13 years old. And it was the first woman I ever got to see naked. And so, we were talking about this yesterday. And so, it was a pretty exciting moment for me. And I actually got to tell my wife that I was going to Scarefest to see the first naked woman that I'd ever seen. I left it open, so she has no idea. Anyway, where did you get the other girl? She doesn't even know.
Do tell.
I don't know. We were looking for, diplomatically, we were looking for a figure model. Very common in photo double in Hollywood. Of course, we were like very young gents trying to make a movie and not knowing our way around anything. I think a contact was made at some sort of a strip bar, and we hired a gal, and all I knew is that they had to go pick her up at some motel and brought her out to the set. We shot the scene. We were very decent and gentle to her. We shot and respectful. We shot the sequence, and she was deposited back at the motel. And I'll bet to this day she has no idea that this large fan base has been watching her for all of these decades.
Now, see, Michael and I were about the same age. Was he sneaking around during the process?
Of course he was.
I don't think this story is necessarily appropriate for any children that might be in the room. I really can't tell if there's some sensitive individuals.
This is Michael, who used to stand behind the wind machine in that big scene, the big Reggie death scene, and throw rocks into the fan. Guarantee you, he was sneaking around.
What? That's good fun. That's perfectly legitimate fun. You know? No, I don't believe that. The truth is, I was not there on the day they shot the, breast scenes.
Yeah, I have a follow-up about that. I'm sure you do. Yes, I do. In the commentary, you say your mother said that you should have done it, that your breasts were better.
Yes, she did.
Is that correct?
It's correct. What happened was, I brought my mother to the screening, and we were sitting there, and all of a sudden you see me from just below the shoulders up, saying, "Oh, Tommy, Tommy." And the next thing you see, and granted, I think it's 20 feet high by 20 feet wide screen, and all of a sudden you see breasts. And I just said, "Those are mine!" And Don and Paul Peppermint were sitting behind me and just laughing their asses off. And yes, my mother turned to me and said, "Oh, you should have done that scene. Yours are much better." Good old Mom.
Well, Kat, would you like to put that question to rest now and prove it to your fans?
Use your imagination.
I ask those things of the moderator and I lose a job. Okay, so
No.
who's next?
This isn't really a question, but more of a comment. Like Michael was saying, you know, the movie teetered between horror and sci-fi, but the one element of realism that I do appreciate in this comment is for you, Reggie. Y'all were basically on the verge of more or less interdimensional collapse, and you're still trying to get some action, man. Still trying to get laid. I appreciate the realism aspect of that.
Yeah, I can't get no satisfaction, man.
Man, you tried. You tried, buddy. So yeah, good on you.
Yeah, well, you know, I get there, but something always happens, or doesn't. Something happens to make it not happen. And I think it's part of what keeps Reggie motivated. You know what I'm saying? And because I'm always looking for a hot babe, and I always find them. But we never, like I said, something always happens, and it never kind of gets done. So that's what keeps Reggie running around a lot.
Interdimensional collapse.
We like that term.
We have a question in the back, right there.
Yeah, this is for Bill. What can you tell me about warning shots?
Mike, you listening to me? Warning shots are bullshit. You shoot to kill and you don't shoot at all. That's it. Yeah.
We have another question up here.
I actually have another question for Angus if he's still on the phone.
Let me try to rouse him. Angus, are you there? We have a question for you.
So my question is, he got to play, his character before he became the tall man in one of the films, and I was wondering how did he enjoy playing that, or did he more enjoy being the evil tall man? Like, what was it like for him to stretch his wings and be the tall man pre-tall man?
Did you hear the question, Angus?
I do not.
The question is, you have played different iterations of the tall man, as the Jebediah character in Phantasm 4 and as the tall man in all of the movies. Which did you enjoy playing most, and which one allowed you to spread your wings best?
Well, I spread my wings into everything I do, of course. I thought, Lord, which set of women enjoy the most? Oh, the tall guy, such fun. He moves into takes over the play of the role, I don't have to do much of anything. So it's great to be the physical embodiment of the tall man and just sort of stand out there and watch him move along. I guess, of course, the tall man will always be my favorite characterization. I love Don's Adventures in Horror segment into the going off a mountain road. And I love the two roles in Mindwalk. And the little nugget Don gave me and John does at the end. It's all been just a terrific workout. And I'm glad you liked up those credits. Answer your question.
Yes, a big head shake, yes.
All right, so we're gonna have to, do we have time for one more question? You guys okay with one more? Okay, one more question right here. This is the first one I saw.
Which one? Right.
With Kelly. Yeah.
Thanks so much for another one, appreciate it. So Phantasm 2 was ironically enough the first one that I saw, drastically different tone than Phantasm 1, which carried over into 3. It was more of an action type film, whereas the fourth one became more dreamlike like the first film. Can you at least divulge the tone a little bit of this fifth and final incarnation?
Well-stated question. I think it would be premature for me to say, other than it does encompass the values and that we've come to love in the Phantasm series on many levels of these characters. I'll leave it. You know, the thing is that when you describe it that way, honestly, every time I set out to make a Phantasm film, I don't know that I'm trying to create a different tone. You know, it was after Phantasm 2, people said, oh, it was so grim and ruthless. You know, and then after Phantasm 3, fans would accuse me, why is there so much comedy and who are these new characters? You know, and I didn't get the commentary. I make Phantasm films without too much judgment about tone. I'm trying to just keep them in the Phantasm world. Although I will say in Phantasm 4, the idea was basically based on no budget, was to go back to the roots and to try to make something that had a feeling more like the very original. And I'm not sure that I could ever recapture the original, or any of us could in that respect. So, yeah, it's a weird thing because we've had this long, strange trip of making these movies. And, you know, recently there was this movie Boyhood that came out and got all this celebration about the 12-year stretch. And, you know, here we've been making these movies for 35 years now with the same actors. And I guess you can only judge the tone looking back, you know, with hindsight would be my answer. So, yeah, thanks for that. That was a good one.
That was a good question. If I may add to that a little bit, just if you guys look up the term phantasm in Webster's dictionary, it's really interesting because it really does, in just one basic phrase, explain what these movies are about. Phantasm is like something that you're not sure if it exists. This is like the dictionary. This is what the word means. It's like it could be real and it may not be real. And it's an individual experience. And I think that's what's great about the series, Don, is that when you see it, you're forced into that world, and it's so easy to fall into a phantasmic world. It really is. And I found out in the 60s And it's just like a whole other universe. And pretty much anything goes and anything can happen. And Don, you've made that a reality.
Thank you, Reggie. On that note, Angus, do you have any last words you want to say? We're wrapping it up.
Well, first, thank you for looking at that. You have no idea. Some great fun. Been walking. God bless. Have a really good night, show.
I couldn't have said it better. Thank you, Angus, and thank you all.
Thank Don, Bill, Kathy, Mom, Reggie, and Gigi. All right.